Now,
It is now, yes. It's a signal from me that we are live. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Tanya Matthews, and we haven't seen each other for a few weeks now. So, thank you, Filipino, East Coast Filipino Portal, for having us back. I work with ISANS Immigrant Serving Agency here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. However, we provide services all across Nova Scotia as well as pre-arrival. So whether you are not in Canada yet, not in Nova Scotia, or if you are local, we have a number of different services that you can utilize. So just want to quickly recap what iSense is in case you are new. iSense has been in existence for 40 years. We are celebrating our 40th birthday this year. We have a number of different services and programs, actually quite a few, because we have over 300 qualified staff which come from many different countries and speak many different languages. So we can definitely provide services that are tailored and culturally aware and sensitive. Main units within the iSense consist of settlement unit, which is helping all newcomers and immigrants with their settlement and resettlement needs, orientation to living and working in Canada, and so on. Another unit that we work very closely with is our language services. So we provide over 90 different language classes, regardless of your Canadian language benchmark level, or your CLB or your IELTS. We also have language classes that are more tailored towards working and living in Canada. And we provide them in many different ways. Could be in the class, could be blended, could be solely online. There is a number of courses that you can take that are self-study courses and so on. So quite a robust unit in itself. Business unit is the one that helps immigrants who are more entrepreneurial inclined. They also provide immigrants with the opportunity to meet other professionals in their fields, and work with immigrants closely that way, also both pre-arrival and once you arrive in Nova Scotia. And then today's speakers and myself, we are from Employment and Bridging Unit, which is the unit that helps immigrants who are job seekers. Whether you are in regulated profession or just looking for entry into the labor force, there is a number of different programs that we can offer, starting with employment counseling. And today's guest speaker is Anna McBath, who will be talking more about it. We also provide programs that will take you from employment counseling, finding out what assessing and what your job search needs are, being able to refer you to a number of different programs, all the way to hopefully successfully employed in your field, in your dream job. And if neither one of those works, hopefully we can help you with career change and looking in alternative careers. And if you are in bridging programs, that means that you are in professions that require some type of a licensure or certification to practice in Canada. We work with a number of different professions, including engineers, architects, healthcare professionals, physicians, nurses, pharmacists, doctors, accountants, finance, and so on. Definitely including trades and professionals in that sector. And additionally, we'll talk today about youth and youth programs, as well as a very important part of our job search, which is practice interviews. And to talk about practice interviews today, we have Darlene McInnes. And I think that's it from me. I will then kind of step in the background and monitor any comments or questions you may have. I may stop and interrupt the presentation if I feel that maybe question is good to answer at that point, but otherwise, I'll just kind of gather and keep the questions for at the end of the presentation. So again, looking forward talking to all of you. Don't be shy. Put those questions in the chat box. And Anna, if you want to take over, the microphone is all yours.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna McBath, and I work closely with Tanya Matthews and Moja Alia at iSense Employment Services. We are called Employment and Bridging Team. So today I'm going to speak about what we do in a few services and programs. And my co-presenter is Darlene McInnes. Darlene and I, we've been working for over 15 years, and very often we partner on different programs together. So I'll just walk you through the outline of the presentation. Next slide. We can go to the next slide. So the plan for today is to talk about our employment services and mainly about employment counseling, immigrant youth programs, and Darlene will talk about practice interview program. So, employment services at iCENS. If you joined these presentations before, you probably heard a number of presentations about bridging programs, about job search workshops. So I'm not going to be talking about them, but there are a few more programs that we deliver. One service is called employment counseling, and I'll go into more depth in it in a few minutes. We provide pre-employment preparation through the job search workshops that I think have been covered already. There are also referrals to employers and other services. We have an extensive practice interview program, and there are also 2 immigrant youth programs that we will discuss in depth today as well. One program that is supporting all of our services is Atlantic Immigrant Career Loan Fund. If through any process at any time, if you need support with paying for any training or exams, you can borrow money through this loan fund, and it's specifically designed for immigrants. And with iCENS help, you can secure the money and cover the costs. Moja is here to answer any questions if there are any questions about this program. I believe that sometime, maybe, I don't know if Moja, if we already covered loan fund before, or it's coming up.
Yeah, we did before.
You did? Okay,
but if they have any questions, we can answer them.
Yes. So, and Tanya mentioned that we also have a lot of bridging programs for different professionals. And you can always find more information about those on our website. So if you can see, it's very small font, but don't worry, I'll walk you through this chart. So job search is a full-time job. So if you're looking for work, you will be busy because there are a lot of things that you can do and you need to do. First of all, you need to identify where you want to go, what kind of work you're looking for. And then you need to see, do you have the language skills to do that work? So to check your language skills when you come to Canada, to Nova Scotia, you would need to take Canadian language benchmark placement test, which is free. And you will be tested on your listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So with those scores, you will meet again with your employment specialist and look into basically labor market, maybe job ads, what employers are looking for, and look into potential employers, what kind of education they need, what are the salaries, what is your budget, how can you support yourself with the salaries for the job that you're looking for. And look into employment prospects. If the job you're interested in, if it's growing in demand, or it's actually shrinking in Nova Scotia. So it's very important to know as well. Then what you need to do, you would need to prepare, once you gathered all the labor market information, you need to prepare Canadian style resume and cover letter, to have a general one first so that you can draw from it when you're applying for specific jobs. So you can see how much already you need to do. So, but it's not the end of the process. So once you have the documents ready, you need to start looking for jobs and start targeting your cover letter and resume. So that takes also a skill. Parallel, you need to practice interview skills and see what kind of try to predict the questions that employers will ask you, because you never know when you apply, employers may just call you and interview you on the spot on the phone. So you always need to be ready. And then another step in your job search is to tap into the hidden job market, because not many jobs are not posted online. So as you can see, it's the whole process. And underneath, there is a lot. If you are in the regulated profession, there is a big fat arrow where it says that you need to be working on your licensing process. That's where the career loan fund comes in handy, and the bridging programs. So as you can see, it is a full-time job to look for work. But don't be scared, because employment specialists are your guides at iCENS, whether you're pre-arrival or post-arrival. Next slide, please. So we call it case management cycle. You saw how much you needed to do, but we have our own checklist. We are walking with you along the job search road. So it starts with intake, and intake happens at iCENS for the whole organization. So you become registered, and you become our client. So after intake, you meet with an employment specialist, and we call it needs assessment. Needs assessment is for us to find out who you are, what is your background, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your goals, and we start building your action plan, and we call it return to work action plan. So basically, we always start with the end in mind, where you need to go and how you need to build those steps. As you can see, through basically along the road, we refer you to internal and external programs and services. We call those interventions, basically to help you to get where you want to go. Then we help you with your job search documents. We'll help you to develop generic ones and then targeted ones. So it is a process. We also practice with you your interview skills, so you're not left alone in that one too. And the last, which can take a while as well, is job development. We call it job development because sometimes it's not enough just to apply for a job. We also contact employers on your behalf and try to market your skills. And then we follow up with you and with employers to see how things go. We call it a cycle because it's not just a one-time meeting with an employment specialist. Sometimes our clients think they just meet once and that's it. And some of them even think they'll just get a job right away. But very often it doesn't happen. You can see it's a process, and your employment specialist will walk with you through it. So at any time you can contact your employment specialist, and they're your counselor. They are there to help you. So next slide. So we also have tools that iCENS purchased, and they're free at your disposal. So we developed an internal database. It's called Skills Match that we market to employers, and employers post their job ads. On the other hand, we on our end, we help you to build your profile there. And if there's a match between your skills and the job ad, the tool itself matches, and you become notified, and your employment specialist will get a notification. And then you and your employment specialist can decide what to do next. If you like the job, they can call on your behalf, or if you feel comfortable, you can contact the employer yourself. So that's a great database, and we're very proud, and it's very popular among employers. So Optimal Resume, that's another tool that is very useful for building a resume from scratch. Or it also has a database of many resumes in different industries. It even has, for example, if you're an engineer, it has a sample resume for a junior engineer, for a mid-career engineer, for an experienced engineer. So it's very, very useful. So I hope everyone can hear me. I just noticed there was a little bit of echo. Yeah, perfect, great. I'll continue on. Another addition to our toolkit was JobScan. We purchased that fairly recently, about 6 months ago, and it's a great tool. It's getting really popular with a lot of job seekers. So through iCENS, if you become an iCENS client, you will receive a premium account for free, and you can use it. You can use it until you get a job, until you don't need it. And if you tell us you don't need it, then you will have a free account. But premium account will gives you a lot of opportunities to target your resume. It's a wonderful tool because it tells you if your resume is targeted to the job you're applying or not. And it also highlights the words that you need to use, action verbs that you need to use. So again, through the employment specialist, you can access this tool and you can, through this tool, I think you will increase your chances to have an interview. Okay, so next slide. So your employment specialist will refer you, as I mentioned, there are a number of programs. These are just some of them. They are popular among our clients, and they kind of fall a little bit under work experience section. So there is one program is called Federal Internship for Newcomers. This program is for immigrants, for those who become permanent residents of Canada and who would like to work for federal government. And the best thing about this that you can get based on your competencies, not based on your resume. So it's a very competitive process, but your employment specialist will recommend you and will help you to apply for it. The applications are usually once a year, and you will stay in the pool, federal internship, for 1 year. And from during that time, the federal government can draw your resume for the internship, specifically for newcomers. It's very hard to find a job with federal government, but this program has helped a lot of clients already. We've had it for about, I would say, 3 to 5 years, and every year about 4 to 5 immigrants, they get jobs with federal government, and very often they stay. Another program is called START. START is a Nova Scotia program. It's hosted by Nova Scotia government, and it is a wage subsidy. It's basically a financial incentive for an employer to hire you. So that's a very useful program when the employer is choosing between you and somebody else, but you come with already financial incentive. So your employment specialist can help you with that. Another very old and popular program that we've had for, I don't know, probably more than 15 years is called Professional Practice Program. And that's helpful if, for example, if you're applying for jobs, but you're not getting interviews, or maybe there are not many opportunities in your field, you can work for 6 weeks. It is unpaid, but it is for you to gain network, like to gain connections in your professional field and to showcase your skills. And very often those who do that, they get jobs, either with the same employer or with other employers. Usually the statistics ranges between 70 and 80%. So it's a great way to get a job, a professional job. Mentorship is also, we've had it for many years, and it's a professional mentorship, a mentor that who will help you throughout your way in looking for work and hopefully connect you with other professionals in your field. Next slide. So, but I'm here today to talk about two youth programs. And these programs are for the time when you actually come to Canada. The programs that I mentioned before, many of them are available pre-arrival, but when it comes down to work experience, it's usually post-arrival when you're here. But it's still useful for you to know, especially if you want to get the ground, hit the ground running basically when you come here. So Immigrant Youth Employability Project. This program provides youth who are between the ages of 16 and 30 years old with training and work experience. So the great thing is that when during the training, during the 10 weeks of full-time training, you're provided with a stipend, which is basically minimum wage for 10 weeks. So you don't need to worry about your finances during that time. And you're building your soft skills, you're learning about different careers, you are finishing technical training, you're improving your computer skills, we call it digital literacy, improving your interview skills as well. So you basically, I would say, very often youth who start and they finish the program, they can become different people. So after the 10 weeks in class, you will be given an opportunity to work in the closer field that what your goal is, your long-term goal is. And we can see from next slides, there are different examples of where, oh, it's actually, so this is how the program, so yes, thank you. The picture is from the previous cohort before COVID. You can see that the youth are not wearing masks and they're very close to each other. But right now, if you can go to the next slide, we are adhering to all the safety precautions for COVID. You can see that they're wearing masks and they're in class, and even the instructor is wearing masks. So it's pretty safe to attend it in class. And we always, if people cannot come to class, they can attend it online as well. So it's virtual. It's we call it blended delivery. So if you live far away from Halifax, you can still attend it as long as you're in Nova Scotia. Okay, next slide. So these are examples of in the past where the youth gained experience. So these two individuals, they got jobs at Simplicast because they had IT background. So they, you can see that they're pretty happy in Simplicast. They profile them on their Instagram page as well. And the other picture is of someone who wanted to work with children. And so we found the placement for her at Little Picasso, which is a local childcare and art center. So you can see that the youth are very happy. And just, if we can go back a little bit, one of the participants mentioned that this program became a lighthouse in the ocean of my new life in Canada. So you build your skills, and at the same time, you gain lifelong friends through this program. Next slide. We had also quite a few youth who went into trades. So we have Fadi here in the picture. In the middle was the red hat, and he wanted to learn about fixing cars. And you can see him with his supervisors and buddies in the workshop, basically. So this program is, we have different cohorts. We call them cohorts, and there are different start dates. So the next start date for this program is February 1st. So if you know someone, or if you have children, and if you're yourself under 30 and you would like to participate in this program, you need to contact iSense and become an iSense client and say that you're interested in the program, because there is still enough time to register for before February 1st. So next slide. So this is another program. It's called Immigrant Youth Career Exploration Program. And this is a very similar program to what I just mentioned, but it's for high school youth. So if you are in high school and you're wondering what are you going to do after you finish high school, you don't want to waste your money on education. You want to choose something that you will really stick to, if possible. I know it's always hard to do that, but through this program, you will explore careers. You will meet different professionals who will be speakers. We partner with different educational institutions, like with Dalhousie, with Nova Scotia Community College. They attend the program and they talk to the youth about different career options and training opportunities. And after it's also in class. We delivered the last program online, and you finish also safety training. It's very similar concept, very similar curriculum, but it's not every day. It's twice a week after school, and after you finish in class piece, you will be placed in very often it's in your first job in Canada. And if you cannot commit to in class, we still provide individual support, individual counseling, employment counseling, and we'll also do our best to help you to get your first job in Canada. If we can go to the next slide. So yeah, so this is the picture of the, when we had this started, the program started, it was March 16th. So that was like the first day of the quarantine. So we had to quickly move everybody online. And so we did our best, and the youth stuck with us too. And so this is some of their faces. You can go to the next slide. And these are some of the pictures. As I said, for most immigrant youth in the IYCEP, this was the first work experience in their life. and you can see that it ranges. So we had placement in childcare center, we had placement in grocery stores, we had placement in Subway. Those are very good building kind of skills jobs where you learn customer service, you learn how to deal with money, you learn teamwork skills. It's a good start to get you going in Canada. Okay, so I will take over. I will give the mic, virtual mic, to Darlene now, because she's going to talk she's going to talk about practice interview next.
Thank you so much, Anna. Awesome. So I'm going to talk for maybe about 5 minutes about ISAN's practice interview program. As you can see, we had this program for closer probably to 25 years. It's extremely popular, and over the last 10 years, it's grown quite a bit. It also includes the fact that the unit has grown, so there's now more employment specialists who are referring to the program. I think there's about 12 at this point, and as well as quite a few coordinators for some of the bridging programs. So in general, we have about 500 referrals we process 500 practice interviews per year. The referrals come from the employment specialist and or a bridging coordinator internally with ISANS. And the majority of the clients that we meet with are actively job seeking here physically in Nova Scotia, because it's not just Halifax, Dartmouth, or Bedford, but also within Nova Scotia, because that's our mandate. And also there's a certain percentage of practice interviews that we can do with pre-arrival clients. So the criteria involves, that individuals have to be actively job searching. And we do meet with clients that have Canadian Language Benchmark 3, which is high beginner, up to, 10. So there's a spectrum of clients that are referred from a lot of different occupations. So the formats that we use range. Pre-COVID-19, a lot of the sessions, the clients were asking for face-to-face. Since middle of March, we've been consistently having practice interviews, but using Zoom, Skype, and to be quite honest, Facebook Messenger, or whatever the clients and the volunteers have and what they're comfortable with. So we are very lucky to have quite a few, 60 actually, HR professionals and subject matter experts who strategically volunteer with ISANS. They come on what I call an episodic basis when they can. Some people come once a week for a 2-hour block of time. Other people, they'll say to me, Darlene, call me when you need me. And it might be a consultant for facilities management with one of the universities. And if I have a facilities management client, I'm quick to match that person with that individual. So the interview itself is usually a 30-minute interview, 45 minutes sometimes, an assessment by an industry professional, either an HR professional and or a manager, for example, or someone who is an expert in that area. Say, for example, it's somebody who is a manager who also is IT, or a manager who is also a professional engineer interviewing a civil engineer, for example. So it involves an interview component, assessment, and direct feedback given to the client. The sessions are confidential, and it's the time for the client to get the information directly from someone who has a lot of experience interviewing. And as I mentioned, the interviews range. We do interviews for every occupation. There are a lot of engineers. Right now we have a lot of healthcare professionals and IT professionals. We're right in the middle of medical school interview prep, because I think the 21st is Dalhousie Medical School interviews. And we're also preparing about, I think it was 10 clients for the Federal Internship for Newcomer program. And their interviews are going to be virtual, and they're going to be from between the 18th of November till the 20th. So that's keeping us hopping this week. So next slide, please. Hello? Hello? Next slide. Oh, there we go. So over the 20 years, I've been at iSANS for over 20 years and I've been fortunate enough to work with Moja and with Tanya and Anna for quite a while. And we've been very lucky to have insights from a lot of HR people. And so what consistently comes up is that, that sometimes clients have some challenges with structuring answers or telling their stories. It's quite common that technical experts, whether it's IT, engineers, medical doctors, they will say themselves, I'm not really good at telling a story. But for the sake of most North American interviews, we have to answer behavioral questions, which is basically a story that, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. Some other challenges that some clients have are, number one, that they haven't had an interview for a long time. And so there's some anxiety. Some people have language anxiety. Some people, we want them to use simple language, but they try to use complex language when sometimes the interviewer wants something a little bit more simple. Sometimes we forget because we're trying to impress everybody and perform with highlighting the key action verbs or key messages that we want to say, because there is something such as, interview anxiety. And sometimes clients, they mix up the different types of interviews, because we know that there's not interviews, but the interview questions, that there's technical questions, there's situational questions, behavioral questions. And with the behavioral questions, the interviewers are looking for something very specific, to apply, the client has to apply the STAR formula, the situation, the task, the action, and the result. And these are very, very common in post-secondary interviews and with government interviews. And it's safe to say that I think every interviewer asks at least one or two behavioral questions during the course of a 45-minute interview. The other issue that some clients have is when they're put in the position of giving their opinion. What would you do if, or what's your opinion on this? And I think it has to do sometimes with culture, but also if we've not been asked our opinion in the past. And so some people they want to practice that, giving their opinion, especially for medical school interviews. A number of clients were asked to give their opinion on legalization of marijuana, and a lot of people were very awkward about that because they were afraid of saying the wrong thing, but in an interview they're asked. Okay, so here's Carol Logan is a longtime iSANS advocate, and she's the HR director of the Prince George Hotel. And so maybe we'll take a minute just to look here. I'm not going to read it out loud, but basically what she's saying is, they are difficult behavioral questions and structuring our answers, but they're necessary. Okay, and sharing a personal experience at times is not always easy for all of us, but still it has to be part of the decision making. It has to be given no matter how difficult it is to explain the situation. So we spend a lot of time in the practice interview program helping people craft their answers, because my experience is that people have amazing, amazing accomplishment stories. Okay, next one, please. Here's some pictures. The gentleman on the left is Kent. Kent is really busy this week with 3 clients. He's a retired civil engineer with transportation infrastructure with Nova Scotia Public Service Commission, the provincial government. And Sarah Collins is an HR manager with Nautel. Sarah doesn't get a chance to practice interview because she's extremely busy these days, but when I call her every once in a while, she's so happy to help. Because she knows that people need help. Here are some other folks. The lady on the left is Sue Rawson. Sue owns a consultancy business. She's semi-retired. Her friend in the middle was a retired Atlantic Regional Director for Asset and Procurement. And the lady on the right was a retired manager of HR with Dalhousie University. And they are so amazing. They come together in one car and they go in 3 different rooms and they interview a whole bunch of clients, and clients come out thrilled. So Gay, who is the lady on the my right, has helped, I think, close to 25 years with iSANS, and also helping people get ready for faculty interviews as well as interviews on post-secondary. That's her area of expertise. Okay, next one, please. So here's some feedback that some of the HR professionals have said. I think I'm repeating a few things. the one that says technical professionals are doers, not sales and marketers, all the engineers laugh when I say that. They're like, that's so true, Darlene, that's so true. I'm not good at marketing myself, but I'm a doer. So we kind of work together with building up some answers to get through the interview. And all of us, not just the job seeker, but all of us need to successfully answer behavioral questions at some point in our career. Next slide, please. So if you're thinking, whoa, how can I get ready? These are some common competencies that people, actually, there's 5 clients this week that I've got them writing their answers related to these competencies. It's giving evidence of the depth and the scope of your experience with these areas, which are across all disciplines and occupations. Okay, next slide, please. This is just a reminder that the STAR technique has a formula, a situation, a task, an action, and a result. The first part that we all do, sometimes we forget to do, is prepare and do the reflection part. How did I do that? How did I get those 75 things done in 2 weeks? And thinking about how we did it, putting our story together, and then making sure in the actions we talk about it, but also we don't undersell ourselves, because often there's a considerable amount of work that we do in order to make a lot of things happen every day. And the result is also, for some people, known as a KPI or an outcome, like what was the result? And that's the formula that all employers want to hear. And they want it in the container of 1.5 minutes. Not 5 minutes, which is natural amount of time for us to talk, but 1.5 minutes. So it's often an editing job. Next slide. Project managers, I talked to them about STAR, their eyes glaze over, they're kind of bored. But when we talk project management language, and I take out some project management cycles, which this is really small, but problem identification, needs assessment, what does it say there? Solution, and I say, here, take this. I want you to brainstorm about a project. How were you involved? Were you involved in the full cycle and everything? It's amazing what people come up with. And then they go, wow, now I understand what they say about the depth and scope of my experience. I was involved in this full cycle of this $1 million project. So, and I'm like, wow. And then they find that's easier for them to market themselves, like sell the depth and scope of their experience. Next slide, please. This, you might go, well, we talked about assessment. So sometimes with the behavioral questions, I will ask the volunteers to listen and use this rubric. Basically, this rubric, the employment specialists want to know. The reason we have so many practice interviews is because the employment specialist sometimes, and the client as the adult, wants to know, like, how am I in an interview? Did I do well? Please rate me. I've never seen one client run away from having a practice interview. They run towards it because they want a measurement. And sometimes we also want, the employment specialists need to know, like, on a scale of 1 to 5 or whatever, how are the individuals, are their answers developing, or are they solid? If the phone rings tomorrow, is that person ready to go and just go to the interview? But we too tend to do a measurement and give, smart, measurable feedback to the client so they can independently work towards success. Next slide, please. So here are some of the outcomes. I think these are some of the reasons the program is so popular, because clients really do feel empowered to independently prepare interview stories. They feel, oh, wow, I just spent 35 minutes talking in English to a stranger and the monster is gone. There's something that psychologically happens when people have a practice interview as well, because they come out going, if I could do this, I can do it. I can go to the interview. And it's a neutral third. I always joke with people, I don't pay people money. The people, they volunteer. And if somebody says you did an excellent job, that's good to hear that from a neutral third person. And the reduction in panic and anxiety, it's amazing when I think about it, that in 45 minutes, somebody who came in extremely nervous is so confident because they've gone through a mock interview. And quite a few clients these days have been referred for just-in-time practice interviews, which means they have an interview coming up soon. And so we're getting quite a few testimonials. We've always gotten testimonials that people found it helpful. Yeah. And the other benefit is that the practice interviewers, some of them retired, some of them working, some of them come from Nova Scotia Health Authority, Dalhousie, St. Mary's University, the provincial government. They're also winning too. They get cross-cultural training on how to interview across cultures, and they're more prepared to work with diversified groups. And they're building their HR skills and management skills, but specifically interviewing skills. So here are two testimonials. A lot of people were like, I didn't realize how important behavioral questions are. And
Can
how
you read it, Darlene? It's a nice one.
Do you want to read it, Moshe? You have a lovely voice. You feel free.
You are better, my dear. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot. So in response to your email, I found the practice interview session very helpful. I honestly feel more confident to face interviews than before. I found the behavioral and situational questions very helpful as it deals with real life scenarios and it deals with the situation, the action, and the result of a case study. The volunteer gave me more insight on answering interview questions and what makes a good behavioral and situational answer. So that was great. And the next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. Next slide. The next slide is just a thank you from somebody who got a job yesterday and with MUFG, and she's in the financial crimes unit, and she hadn't had an interview in 17 years, so she was just thanking us, and it was very enthusiastic. So that's the kind of emails I love to get, is when somebody goes, I made it, you know, and then I forward it to the volunteer interviewers, and they're thrilled as well. So we all work together. So I think we're near the end. Hello.
Thank you, Darlene. For some reason, my mouse is not moving. Sorry about that. It's the last one, I think, right? Is it the last?
So. I think there was just my information and Anna's, but I think that's about it. Yeah.
Contact information.
There were a couple of websites that we wanted to share, but we could maybe share them later on.
Joey, can you share them? Can you share the additional 2 pages? I don't know what happened. It's okay, we can. So Joey is going to share them. Joey is going to share them. The last 2 pages.
That's okay. Well, Joey is setting up. I'm just calling to see if there is any questions. So far, there has been no questions while you guys were presenting. You were doing such a great job, very detailed, very great explanations. So it's not surprising that there are no questions at the moment. Let's just see if Joey can pull those resources up. And again, for those who are listening, as you can see, within the employment counseling, youth programs, and practice interviews, there is a huge benefit to take on those, to take the opportunity to actually meet the employment specialists, to be referred to these programs, and for youth to participate. And as Anna said, you know, don't spend money on education that you're not sure you want to pursue. So explore your career and then make a choice as to what you want to gain as a degree in the future. Any luck, Joey?
He shared the first testimonial, but then it was gone. Yeah. And if you can, the second page, please, because it has got the resources. Thank you. That's great.
You can maybe grab it and put it in the chat box if people want to copy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The first one is just discussing what is a competency-based interview, and the second one is is more information on job interviews. The third one is looking at competencies related to IT from a licensing body about what are core competencies. So they were just 3 random resources that I think were quite good.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Darlene. One of the previous live presentations we had by Cassidy, she was talking about job search workshops, and then those clients who take on job search workshops get the opportunity to learn about many of these different components of interviews and different types of questions. And many of them end up with Darlene actually having the opportunity to practice the skill that they have learned. And when you take on initiative to actually learn about the interviews, resume, you can copy and paste and figure it out. Resume will get you to an interview. In interview is when you are going to get the job or not get the job. So putting an effort and practice into enhancing your interview skills is always a great idea. And we have a great program that can help you with that. So highly recommended for sure.
And please contact us at employment_services@isans.ca. We usually have it going on the underline, but today it's not there. If you want to add it, Joey, that would be great. Perfect. Employment_services. Here we go. He's ready for us. Yeah. Perfect. So if there are there any questions? No questions?
No external questions. It's mostly just
Like Anna and Darlene, you did a great job. Thank you so much. It was very smooth and straight and very clear information. And thank you, Tanya, always. And thank you all for our guests for being here tonight. And please refer clients and be prepared. Like, to get into the labor market, it's all about being prepared. So, you want to close, Tanya or Anna or
Joey?